Hi, I'm Joel Grimes with the Joel Grimes Academy, and we're going to talk about hopefully a business tip that might, in fact, change your life. It did for me, and I'm going to give you a little history about what I'm talking about, and that is source books. Now, you may have turned ahead of that term, you may not have. And so you say, what is a source book? Well, I'm trying to think back when I started in 1984, there was the Black Book, a big deal to get into that, and then there was the Showcase and the workbook. And I had seen those books around, and I flipping through and looking at some of the best photographers in the world. And of course, I was starting out, and it was like, wow, what if I could ever get in one of those books? And so what happened was I was switching up a style of my photography, doing large format, black and white, type 55 portraits with a view camera. And I had a buddy come in, and he said, he saw this stuff, and he went, Joel, you ought to put this stuff in a source book. And he had been in a workbook, and so he had done very well in workbook, and he said, the deadline's in 2 weeks. And you got to think about it. And it cost about $8,000 to get in that book. And I was like, went home to my wife, and she's like, well, we got 4 kids at home, and we got diapers and all the things we got to pay for. And so I thought about it, and I thought, maybe it's time. And 95+% of all my work came from the Denver market. And I was in Denver at the time. And I had been in communication arts, which was a magazine you would submit work to, and they had a photography edition, and some work got in, and then I had gotten a couple calls from ad agencies, and I ended up doing a campaign for Volvo. And so that was the first time I had kind of branched out of Denver, and I was like, whoa, there's a world out there that I don't know about. And so I thought, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this. So I put my money down, I put my work in a workbook, and when it took, I think at that time, the way that was set up, it took about 10 months before it was printed. And when it got printed, the phone rang off the hook. And I think I had to send out, the first week I had over 20 portfolio requests. And so it launched me on a national level. And it wasn't long after that about 95% of my work was now outside of Denver, so only 5% of my work was in Denver. And that also gave me an opportunity to move anywhere I wanted. So I moved back to Tucson, near my folks and my brothers and my family. And so it launched me and on a national level, and it was a big deal. Now, I'm going to talk about the source book that I'm in now, which is called Ad Edge. And the workbook got to where it was so big. When I say this, it literally, you could hardly hold it. You couldn't hardly hold it with one hand. And Ad Edge came along and said, look, we're going to reinvent the wheel a little bit here. And they came up with this concept of having 4 books a year, so every quarter, and they put 3 of the smaller ones and one that's a little bigger. I don't have one in front of me right now, but you can go online here at adedge.com and you can see kind of what they do. And they also changed the way, because it's kind of a delicate little book, the design is very consistent. Now, in workbook, you came up with your design, so every page was designed differently. And sometimes it got really cluttered, and you'd be like, whoa, somebody went a little too busy. And so Ad Edge is a very delicate approach to putting something in the hands of an art buyer, art director, creative director, someone who's in a buying position of photography on a high level. They send these all out all over the country. And so because most art directors and creatives in the industry are either graphic designers turned art directors or whatever, they love good design, very delicate approach. So this is a very smart thing to do. So it's not too busy, and it's just a nice little piece to hold in your hand. So these go out, and then they can also go online. Ad Edge has their website, And like you can look, search under categories like, say, well, I'm an automotive photographer, or I want to be an automotive photographer, and you can look at some of the best automotive photographers in the world, and you can scroll through here. You can go by photographers, and so you say, hey, who's the hottest whatever, in town or in the country, and it's a great source. They have you can look at agents that, for like photo reps and stuff like that. They also have, we'll click over here, this thing called face-to-face, and I've done a couple of these. What it is instead of you trying to, which I teach a lot, is you get your foot in the door of an ad agency, and I talk about the power of 8 and this little formula that I've used for years, and it's gotten me into some of the biggest agencies in the world. But they do the work for you in a way that you can, you sign up, and then they have one in like Chicago or in New York or in LA, and you go in and you are assigned to, and you give them parameters. You say, I'm a portrait photographer, and I'd like to see these, set of art directors or art buyers. And so then you have a sit down, and you get like 12 to 15 minutes. It goes pretty fast, but you get your work in front of them, and you get to chat with them. They'll ask you some questions, and you can, kind of go through what you do. And then the bell rings, and you go to another table with another art buyer, art director, and it's a great evening. And so, and you have to pay for it. I think it comes. It's been so long now. My brain is fried. But it's just really worth the investment. And so, I highly recommend that. But it's tied into the whole Ad Edge. I guess what they offer. And so they also do campaign spotlights, so you can be a part of what they do, and they can promote you, and they do some online advertising for you. This is an exclusive group of photographers, meaning that you have to be on a level to get in here. And so they have 150 photographers in here, so it's not too many, not too overwhelming. It doesn't take that long to flip through here. And when someone says, I've had enough, I'm drop out, maybe they decide to go sell insurance or something, there's a slot open, then you can get in. Or you submit to get in. And so it's a very exclusive group, and the reason why that's, I think, important is because the art buyers, the art directors, the people that are receiving this book know that it's just not anybody can get in it. And so it gives a little bit of a credibility for you to be in Ad Edge and a part of what they do. And so that's kind of a fun thing to say, I'm in this exclusive group. And so they have a lot of things. So we can look at a book here, because this is kind of hard to see here. Here's one, I think it's like, what number is this? It's like 59 or something. Anyways, let's flip through here. That's a cover. You go through here, and it's just, this is again their little small book. And you get to the very front here, the first, here's Glenn Wexler. He's been around a long time. I was gonna say, I was in diapers probably when he started out in photography, but he's a big name in the industry, and so he's in here. You just flip through here. There's just some great photographers in here. And again, you may say, well, I don't know, this picture may not fit me, or I don't do food or whatever, but they have all sorts of genres of photographers in here. And so you can flip through here. Here's more lifestyle. Another car shooter. Beautiful stuff. And so this is a way you can look at it. You can go back to a lot of the books that they've done in years past, and so you can flip through some really good photography. So it's a great resource for even photographers that say, you know what, this is not for me right now, but maybe one day it will be. And so I would go and find this as a resource for you to go and look at great photography. So that's kind of it. The only thing I would say is that the most difficult part about a source book is knowing what pictures you should put on your page. That is the hardest thing. You get excited about maybe a series of images, and then maybe it's a couple months old. You put them in there, and then later you look at it and you go, "What was I thinking?" And so you sometimes second guess yourself. But what I would say is that you put the images in here of the kind of work you want to get. That's the number one thing. And realizing that because you're an artist, you have to stick and hold firm with what you believe to be the right thing. So let your intuition be your guide. Don't listen to too many people, because if I ask all my friends what pictures I should put in here, I'd probably get a whole bunch of different opinions. And so your head will start to spin, and I've been in that position. And so I often say let your intuition be your guide. But you want to think about the industry and what is it that you want to do, and what kind of phone call do you want to get. And that's important, because don't put in there images of your kids or something that you don't want to do work with. So that's the hardest part about this whole source book. So hopefully this will give you an idea what a source book is about, and on the marketing side, and encouraging you to go and chase your dream. You know my little tagline, be an artist, live your dream, and create an income with what you love, with your camera, with your creative genius, or whatever you want to call it, what you love to do. That's the most important thing. So I'm here to encourage you to do that. And so, as I say, put the potato chips down, get off the couch, and get to work, and go and chase your dream.